Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is go ahead and cut all your lumber to length, except for the 4 braces, because you're going to decide that length once you get everything together if they fit right. So on the right hand side we have for the small short sides, which are 32 inches each. The center is the long side, that's 64 inches. And on the left hand side are the 4 legs, which I'm currently doing at 28 inches. Next thing you want to do is go ahead and lay out your 2 squares for your top and your bottom piece. So you have the 32-inch pieces on the end, and they go all the way. You want to make sure that they're positioned like this, for they're the full width. And then the 64-inch pieces go in between. So I have both those set up. You just go ahead and set your legs off to the side right now. Now we're going to go ahead and drill and put 1 screw in each one of these corners and get this thing together. And do this on level ground for the things are nice and even. These are 3-inch wood screws. Now that I have 1 screw in each corner, both of the squares are together, I'm going to place them on top of each other. Now that you have them placed on top of each other, go ahead and take your first leg and stick it in the corner. And you're going to want to place the legs lengthwise like this, for there's more support going on the long side. Don't turn the legs this way on the short side. Have them running like this. And then we're just going to put a screw, 1 screw here and 1 screw here on the end. That'll stiffen up the whole frame so I can move it. And later on you can come in and put more screws in. So I'll get all 4 legs put on, and then we'll pull it out, flip it over, and put the top on. Okay, now I have 2 screws in each leg on the top board here, on the top square. You don't want anything on the bottom square because you're going to pull that. That's going to be your top. So I have 1 on the side there. Then I have 1 here going into the 2x4 there on the corner. And it's the same on all 4 corners. So now we're just going to pull this thing up, flip it over, and put it back into that lower square. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled it out, flipped it over, and pushed it back into the square. So now I just need to go around and do the same thing on each one of these corners here. Put 2 screws in each corner. Okay, so I went ahead and secured the top pieces, 2 screws in each corner. Now before you flip it over, now would be the time to put casters on, because it's upside down right now anyway. And I don't have any of the big ones that I put on the other wedge system, but I have these smaller caster wheels I bought off Amazon. But if you notice, if you put these on here, they don't fit real well. You know, either way, they're too far over, you know, or too close to the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position them like this. So I'm just going to cut out a small piece of 2x4 and screw it into each one of these. So there's basically a double 2x4 right here. So I installed one of the 4-inch extensions here to make this leg a little bit wider so I can put those casters on. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other 4 corners. Just place them on here like that. Just make sure this top is nice and flush all the way across. Okay, so I went ahead and placed the casters on there now and just kind of split them between the 2 2x4s, and then put an 1.5-inch wood screw into them with a washer to hold those on. Now I'll do the same thing here. I'll position this thing for it's basically centered left and right, and centered this way here too, so pretty close to right there. And I'll do that on all 4 legs here. Then we'll have some nice casters, and these casters lock. You're definitely going to want casters on it. If you're moving it around on uneven ground, get the big ones like I had on the other, the 5-inch. Okay, so I got all 4 caster wheels on. So all I need to do now is flip it over upright, and we'll go ahead and put the bracing on. Now to do the braces, first you're going to want to take a 2x4 and go ahead and cut a 45-degree angle on one end. And then place that 2x4 right at the very end of the side piece, so at this point right here, right down there. And then make sure it's nice and sitting nice and flat at that 45. And then, oops, 2 people, it's a lot easier. But once we make one that fits, we can just use it as a template. It's sitting flush. Then on the inside up here, just go ahead and mark that 45. It's going to be starting right at that point, and it's going to be go at that angle right there. I got it marked on the back side right here. So I'll go ahead and cut that. Okay, so I went ahead and cut this at a 45 and figured out my other angle there. And you can see it'll fit just perfect right there. So I'll pre-drill some holes here and then on the top and one on the side and you'll be good to go. And I'll just make 4 more or 3 more exactly like this right now first. Okay, so I drilled a hole on the end of each of these 45s that comes straight through and comes out. So I just placed it down like this here and then just went perpendicular. And I did on both ends, on the other end too. And I did on all 4 of them. That'll make it a lot easier to just stick a screw in it and get them set up, and then we'll put one final screw on the face that goes into the side of the leg. Another trick too is to go ahead and start these screws ahead of time. We have them up here, that one and that one. That way when you put them down there, they're already almost coming out. It'll be a lot easier to install them. Okay, I got the braces installed across there and on the back side. And you're going to want those because this system does get really heavy. So it's done good. It's basically done now. So I have the EMT up here, and I just need to cut it, put it in the vise, and cut 2 pieces at 55 inches and 2 pieces at 25. And all I'm going to do is just leave it for there's like an inch on each end for this piece, for the end pieces, and then basically a little over an inch here and at the other end where that other 2x4 is for the length. Okay, so I just took the longer EMT rods and threaded them through each of the sides. I don't worry about the ends right now. Then I can just droop it over the stand right now. This one over this side and this one over this other side. And it'll just stay hanging there. Then I can just come find my center point. Now I went ahead and measured halfway between this 2x4 and this 2x4, and it was 28.5 inches, which I have a little mark right here. So that's where I'm going to want to put my clamp for this pipe right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the clamp on this one and one on the other side, and then we'll put the end clamps on afterwards. So I went ahead and installed the 3 clamps on each of the sides, and I used a 2-inch wood screw if I get a good bite on there, if it really holds well. And again, the center one is basically right at the halfway point between right here and right here. And then I just tried to center the EMT for the same distance there and right there. It's not critical, it doesn't really matter all that much, but I'm going to go ahead and pull the ends up and install the EMT conduit there. And that completes the construction of the stand for the wedge and also the installation of the bag. And you can see these are mounted about 1 inch down, and there's no rhyme or reason. You can kind of install them wherever you want. Now what I did for the wedge that I have currently running is I actually put plywood on the bottom of this right here, so the bottom's covered with plywood, and then I put actually R13 insulation in that gap then, and then put another piece of plywood on the top of it, so there's no cold can come up through the bottom because this is sitting outside, and then I have a heat pad sitting on top of that. And then I went ahead and wrapped cedar all the way around the outer edge of this thing just to insulate the sides. And then I have some foam insulation for the lid. And it's working really well. With a couple heaters in there, it keeps it about 60 to 70 degrees almost all the time. So this thing's built like a rock, and with those casters, it stays in place really well, and you can still move it if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and put red wigglers in this one. I have Euros in the other one. So I hope you enjoyed this. Fairly straightforward to build this. It takes a little bit of time, but it actually isn't too bad. And this thing will hold a lot of worms. It'll produce a lot of castings. This is Tom from VermiBag. Till next time, ciao.